Hi everybody, this is OspreyEye from MyChartCoach.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at some more of the stocks that were in play today. So yeah, there were quite a few stocks that were running, and then like I said in the last video, there were some many of the Bitcoin cryptocurrency blockchain related stocks did cool down today, and we had several that were pulling back into the bands after making very strong bullish moves. And one of the stocks that had a very nice start to the day was SSC, okay, 7-star cloud group, and you notice it did close up 28% on the day, so it had it was a victorious day. It closed up, but the red flag was the black candle that formed today. Notice that the close today was below the open. The open was up here at 620, and then the close was down here at 557. And so when a stock is up on the day but closes below the open, a black candle forms. When a stock is in an uptrend and the black candle forms above the upper Bollinger Band, many times the candles will work back into the bands, and so that is the risk here with this setup. The uptrend's strong. It's got a super strong uptrend. It's just getting a little ahead of itself, a little frothy. It's it's at 76 on RSI, so it is above 70. It's only at 70 on Fasto because the pullback from high of day lowered Fasto. Now, if it does dip, what you want to see if you're a bull is the EMA4 at 474 support hold. That's been holding this whole time since the share price got back above the middle Bollinger Band. A close below that level would be the signal that it's starting to cool down, and then you could see a correction back to the middle Bollinger Band, similar to this move at the end of November. So this isn't what bulls want to see. They want to see a bounce off of EMA4 if it does pull back and continue heading higher. If it pushes higher, 7 is the big level to break. It's got to get above 620 and then 7 to the upside. To the downside, to hold 474. If that breaks, you can see a drop down to 419. Okay, if take a look at the SSC 15-minute chart, and so yeah, this is what you want to be checking out tomorrow. If this green line here, the 50 simple moving average at 529 breaks, that's going to signal downside risk. Notice it bounced off of that level today. When the middle Bollinger Band broke today at 2 o'clock, that did signal the chart was breaking down. This had the classic climax right on the opening candle. Notice the big volume spike, and then you had the pullback from high of day, followed by the black candle forming. All the magic happened within the first hour of the day here, and then the bears had just been attacking as it faded throughout the day. So with the close below the middle Bollinger Band at 564, that is signaling that the chart could break down here. It needs to get back above that level, the dotted purple line, 564, and then hold 529. If it fails to get above that, the middle Bollinger Band, and it drops below the 50 simple moving average, the next key level is the 100 simple moving average at 496. If the 5 support zone fails to hold, then you could see a drop down to the 200 simple moving average and down to the support from the 19th, which is down here around 430, 430, 435. So yeah, so that's the downside risk if that fails to break. To the upside, you want to see a break above the closing price at 10 o'clock here, and that's just above 620. So a break above that would signal that it wants to break out higher. Okay, let's take a look at RIOT. Okay, so it did close down 6% today. It was one of those days where it's under pressure, and so you would think that puts would be rocking, but actually they were down and calls were down. So it was one of those days where the market makers made it so that nobody was really a winner in the options trading. Yeah, so Citron, you'll have to wait for another day. But even though there were a couple that were up, there was one that was up 50% that was in January. But yeah, anyways, bearish engulfing reversal pattern formed. Okay, so that's a very strong reversal pattern. Here's the pattern right here. You can see the big, so the today's candle is engulfing. Today's red candle is engulfing yesterday's white candle, and that signals potential pullback lower. It wasn't a giant red candle. There was a nice bounce off of low day, off of EMA4. People are still buying up here. So the big level is the EMA4 at 34.47. Okay, so once that level breaks, then that's where you're like, okay, this is really where the bears could attack for a moment for a dip. If that level holds, it's still a very strong uptrend. I mean, as you can see here, it hit EMA 4 and it pushed much higher. So if you traded to short right here, you could have got burned to the upside. So that is the risk. If it drops below EMA 4, it could correct like right here, where it dropped below and it headed back down. It held the EMA 13. On a big correction, it could pull back to the middle Bollinger Band down here at 21 and keep the strong uptrend going. It has a very strong uptrend. There are some gaps on the chart. We were talking about this in the chat today, and I was pointing them out. Just keep in mind, gaps do get filled. There's a gap here. You can see the gap between these two candles. So you have a gap right here. So a drop down to this green line would fill that gap. That would be gap number 3. And then there's a little micro gap right here between these two candles right here. So I'm calling that gap number 2. That would be a drop down to EMA 13. So if it drops down to EMA 8, now EMA 8's above it, that would fill gap number 1, down to 30, 29, 30. And then if it drops down to 26, that would fill gap number 2. And then for the big drop, if it went all the way down to 16, that would fill gap number 3. There are 3 unfilled gaps in the chart, so there's a lot of air on the chart. So there is downside risk. So just keep that in mind. Let's look now at EBIO. Okay, yeah, here, let me reload it here. Yeah, so this stock had really nice follow through today. So congrats everybody. This was one of our plays from yesterday that we posted and put out alerts on. And so yeah, this was a chat room play for us. So congrats everyone. Yeah, there was really nice follow through today. This is exactly what we wanted to see. It had been on a multi-day run, and then because you can see the white candles and the green volume bars in a row. But what put it in play for us yesterday was the break above high close horizontal resistance. And so when it broke above this closing price here in the first week in November, that was a signal to us, okay, this multi-month sideways channel, multi-week sideways channel is breaking. And so when it broke above 76, that was a signal to load. And then it had to stay above that level in order to be in play. You notice how it did that back here in November, but it failed to stay above and it pulled back. So basically, this is the move everybody was looking for yesterday. And then today was the reward. It followed through. So that was sweet. It's always nice when the swing trade follows through. All we can do every day is just try to look for the best setups, and then you just have to follow the charts, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And today was one of those days it had really nice follow through. So if you look back here, this gap, this is what we were looking at for. There was 2 big resistance levels. It was the 50-day simple moving average at 85 that needed to break, and it opened right below that level, busted above it, and then the next big level that we were looking at was the gap from back here, and from between October and the end of October and the beginning of November, and that gap did fill today, and it busted above the gap and it had no problem. So that was a strong move. The gap is filled. It closed above the 50-day simple moving average. It closed above the top of the gap. So these are 3 major resistance levels: the 50-day simple moving average, the bottom of the gap, top of the gap, all tough levels to break. Close above all 3. So you want to see those levels turn into support. As long as it stays above the top of the gap, that's going to signal more upside. Now it did struggle with the dollar level. The dollar level is always a big level when the stock has been trading below. A stock needs to trade above $1 for 30 consecutive days. It's one of the requirements to stay listed as a big board stock. So they really need to get it back above $1, and so that's a big psychological level. If it can get above $1, it needs to stay above that level. And our next target is the 100-day simple moving average at 110. So we're looking for a potential test at that level. If it hits that level and then it fails to break, that could be the climax of this multi-day run. If it closes above the 100-day simple moving average, that continues the run, and then we could be talking about the 200-day simple moving average. You don't know how long they're gonna, how far they're gonna push it. You just have to keep riding as long as EMA 4 supports riding. Now that it's on a multi-day run and it pushed above the upper Bollinger Band, you have to, be on the lookout for the chart, hitting resistance. And so what's best to do is follow the intraday charts, and they will signal the chart breaking down first. Okay, take a look at NIHD. Okay, so talk about good setups. All right, so the stock, had the bullish close today that we like. Okay, so it closed up 31%. RSI is at 61. bullish crossover on ADX. Notice how the green line crossed the red line to the upside. So yeah, so we put out alerts on Monday that this was in play on the bullish close above the middle Bollinger Band. Notice how the dotted line, there hadn't been a close above the middle Bollinger Band since back here in November. And so, that close above on Monday signaled it was in play. Yesterday, it took a breather. It pulled back, but it held the middle Bollinger Band. That signaled that support was holding. And then today was the big reward if you loaded on Monday. And so yeah, sometimes you have to it takes a minute. You have to, look, it was very low volume yesterday and it held support. And so, the people that loaded and had some patience, they paid off. A lot of times people are over trading and you just need to let the setup develop. You let the play develop. If you have the good setup and a good entry point, then if you give it a little bit of time, a lot of times it will follow through as long as you have the correct setup. And so this did follow through. So congrats everyone. It closed above the 50-day simple moving average. That's the key level at 37. It needs to stay above that level. Notice how it was big resistance back here. So the close above is a bullish change in trend. If it drops below that level, that's going to signal it's not ready to go, and it could test EMA4 down here at 32. If it holds on to the 50-day simple moving average, then the 100-day simple moving average at 46 is the next target. So yeah, so we're looking at a potential test at 46 up there if it can stay above the 50-day simple moving average. Okay, let's look at FTFT. Okay, so this stock is had a very nice close today. It's in the bull zone here on Fasto. RSI is above 70, so the close above the 300-day simple moving average was bullish. It needs to stay above that level. If it can stay above 392, it could push higher. And keep an eye on the fives. It's going to have to break above the 440 resistance zone. If it drops below 392 and the 300-day simple moving average, the candles could work back into the bands. Notice how today's candle is forming well above the upper Bollinger Band, so it is floating up there. If the EMA4 at 306 and the closing price down here at $3 is the next big support level below the 300-day simple moving average. So yeah, really big volume behind that move. Okay, let's take a look at SIEB. All right, so this stock has made a really nice move here. It had been up for multiple days in a row, and then it took a breather yesterday. But notice that it had been holding EMA4 support. As long as EMA4 keeps holding, then the uptrend is still strong. Once it closes below EMA4, that's going to be your signal it's cooling down. That's at 1596. So that is the key level to hold. All right, so a drop below that would put EMA8 at 1278 on deck. So yeah, so this has got a good uptrend. It just needs to keep holding EMA4. The candles are pushing really hard here, and yeah, it's now if you look to find the next resistance, you have to go out on the chart. And so I went out on the monthly chart, way out. You have to go all the way out here to 1999. And so if you look down here at 1999, the high close was right up here at $25, it looks like. And so that's going to be the big level to break. It's filling the jar. It's worked its way all the way back to this 1999 high close. Had to go back, use a 20-year chart to find this, 21-year chart to find this resistance level. And here you go, 25. So if it goes up to 25, hits that level, fails to break, that could signal the top of this run. Notice the giant volume spike behind the move down here. Okay, so another one to take a look at is PYDS. This is another play that followed through, so congrats to everybody that's following our plays. We alerted this at lower levels. This is the previous chart that we posted. Yeah, so this is, I posted they were in the bull zone with room to run. Now this is, up here. Yeah, so basically, what happened is the uptrend held and was intact, even though there were some red days. Okay, so it broke above the middle Bollinger Band back here on the 12th, and then it just proceeded to slowly work its way higher. The thing is today it busted above that closing price on the 12th. That was the bullish move that we were looking for, and then the next big level to break was this closing price in the first week of November, and notice how it closed right at that level, even though it had traded above that level for it had been trading above that level earlier in the day, the market makers were able to pull it back right to that level at the close. I mean, that's like magic that it closed right at that key resistance level, and that's what happens with the charts, when the computers are in control. And so yeah, so this filled the jar back to this level, and so now if it can bust above this level, the 345, whatever resistance zone, then that's going to signal it wants to head higher. If it fails to break that level, the candles will work back into the band, similar to the way they did here. You want to see EMAs 4 and 8 support tested, or a hold when tested, and then the uptrend continue. It looks like it's been hitting EMA 13, so that would be the low level that you'd want to see, for a reload if you got lucky on the just see how it plays out. Bust above 340, 345 signals it wants to head higher. You got the 4s on deck. Fail to break that level, and you could see a retest of 3 support. Okay, look at MYO here. Okay, yeah, so this is right now it's in the bull zone on RSI. Now it just closed above 50, so that's signaling the chart is heating up. Last time it got above 50, it had a nice little run on RSI. So yeah, so this closed above the middle Bollinger Band yesterday. So congrats to everybody that got our alert. It closed up 13% today. So we did put out alerts that this was heating up on the close above the middle Bollinger Band. And then yeah, today it had nice follow through, and so that was sweet to see. And so it's at the 50-day simple moving average at 379. That is the big level to break. If it can close above that level tomorrow, that's going to signal it wants to head higher. And then that's where it has to get through the upper Bollinger Band at 426. And then we're looking at the 100-day simple moving average at 523. You notice it got up to that level last time. It had broken above the middle Bollinger Band and made a nice run. So yeah, so we'll see if it fails to get above that 379 resistance level, then it could pull back and test that middle Bollinger Band. As long as the middle Bollinger Band at 305 is holding, a new uptrend should begin. It's just all about breaking that 50-day simple moving average and turning it into support. You've got the MACD bull crosses, the volume increasing. The chart's all set up. It just has to push through resistance. Okay, so let's look at MYDX here. Okay, so this is a marijuana sector play. Trades over the counter. Closed up 26% today. So yeah, so this is a stock that has been heating up over here. It broke above the 50 and the 100-day simple moving averages. It kept pushing higher, and then today it hit the 200-day simple moving average and pull back. And so if you see it break above the 200-day simple moving average, it's about 0.0065 or so. That's going to signal that it wants to head higher, and then it could run up to that 300-day simple moving average at 0.008. So yeah, so this is making a nice move here. Keep an eye on it. The Canadian sector has been super hot, the Canadian marijuana sector, and so the United States sector has been heating up as well, and they've just been kind of picking plays and running them, and so it's been kind of random. You just have to keep following the charts, and then the game is to jump in the ones that are in play. And so they're only picking so many at a time to run. And so right now MYDX is one of them, and if it breaks that 200-day simple moving average, it signals it wants to head higher. The close today above high close resistance from October, it broke it broke above a major resistance zone today. That close above resistance does signal upside. You want to see this red line turn into support and a break above 0.007. Okay, let's look at another one here. Okay, this is peer-to-peer network. I mean, look at the big spike on the linear chart here, how this thing has just been breaking out like crazy. And we did alert this at much lower levels. I keep saying that, but it is true. It closed up 82% today. I mean, we were down here on this thing. We were over here on this thing. Yeah, sometimes you've got the freaking brass ring and you just don't even know it. You know what I mean? It's like, and sometimes it's just being lucky. And then, because we post so many stocks, and then it's like, it can be hard to choose which one do you ride and all that kind of stuff. But we did post because it's difficult to narrow it down, and that is part of the art, and it takes experience, and you know, and basically you want to just keep following the charts and try to follow the strong plays. And this did break out above resistance, and so yeah, the pullback, the long upper wick yesterday, that did show profit taking, and so sometimes when that happens they stall out, but this kept pushing higher and it had a really nice move today. So it's on this big 3-day run, and yeah, it's hitting that 264 level. If you look back here, when I pull the chart out, you will see that was a big resistance level. Which one was it? Right here. Okay, so yeah, from back in August, and so this, you know, January through August of you know, this 2014 resistance zone. You know, this 2526 level was huge resistance. Okay, for this stock. If it can get above and turn that into support, that's going to be a signal that it wants to head higher. As you can see, it had been, you know, up here in 2013, and up here in the you know, 7-8 cent range. So if it can get above this 2.5 to 3 range, it could signal that it wants to keep pushing higher. If it fails to break this level, that will signal that it's hitting a top. You know, what looks promising on this play is the volume. It's always about the volume with these penny stocks, and as you can see, there's been a lot of volume behind the move. Okay, let's look at TXTM. This is a South African marijuana company. They're a medical marijuana company from South Africa. They don't have their license yet, but they say they're in line. I recommend reading the recent press release. We do have that information in our chat, so you can check that out in our marijuana sector chat. Yeah, this is breaking out here. It's trying to break out of this sideways channel. It closed above high close resistance. Okay, so from back here in what was that, October, and so the close above high close resistance in October does signal more upside. It also closed above high close resistance from back here in May through June, or June through July. And then now the big level is this May level. So if it can get above 0.0014, a close above that level will signal that TXTM wants to head higher. Notice the big volume spike behind the move. Yeah, so this one's really heating up. And then one more for you, ASCK. Okay, so we had one of our chat members nailed the entry on this, so good job, buddy. That was excellent work, and yeah, this was a good follow through here. This is a small stock that is trying to break resistance in the middle Bollinger Band, and so if it can get above the middle Bollinger Band down here at 0.0014, it closed right at that level today. That's going to signal that it wants to head higher. So it's had big volume down here, so that makes it interesting. As you can see, look at the big volume bars, and this did trade at much higher levels. It's a very thinly traded stock. It's got a small float, and yeah, it's got some momentum right now, so keep an eye on it. If it breaks above 0.0014, it could head higher. Okay, thank you very much for viewing this video. If you'd like to learn more about charts and technical analysis, please check out our chat. There's a link at the bottom of the video. Okay, thank you.